Hi, my name is Peter Martinson. I work with Lyndon LaRouche's movement here in the United States, and I'm a member of his basement team. In a couple of minutes I'm going to tell you what the basement team is and how we function, but first I want to give you a quick sense of what's happening internationally, because it's quite relevant to the event that you're having in the Carpathians right now. We're in the middle right now of the collapse of the global economic system. The economic system is finished. There's nothing that can save this economic system. The reason for the recent uprisings in Northern Africa, spreading into the Middle East, and also spreading other places on the globe, like my own country, in Wisconsin and Ohio. These uprisings are a reflection of the collapse of the global financial economic system. They are not local uprisings against dictatorship, like the British lying media would lead you to believe. These are uprisings that were sparked personally by a lack of food, by a breakdown of food production over the recent period. But the breakdown of the food production and food distribution systems is a result of the takedown of the physical basis for the economy over the past 30 to 40 years. Now, we can't save the system. What we can do is put in its place a system that actually develops human beings, larger and larger population densities on the earth, to higher and higher living standards. We can put a new system into place, which would be called a credit system. Many of these policies that are required will be put into the United States first, but then immediately put into place through a collaboration of sovereign nation states around the globe. This is possible. We have a window of opportunity in the very near period, and it's absolutely necessary. Without it, we're going to have the collapse of civilization into something that is only comparable to the 14th century New Dark Age of Europe, which was local. It wiped out fully 1/2 to 1/3 of the population of Europe in a very short period of time. This time it's a global collapse. So we can stop the collapse of civilization, but we can't save the current financial system, which is good. We should replace it with an economic system that treats human beings like human beings. Now, Lyndon LaRouche has made clear that though the policies exist to stop the collapse of civilization, the policies themselves are not going to be sufficient. They're going to act as firewalls, but everybody in the world has got to do work on another aspect, which is a deeper aspect, which is why I'm going to tell you about the basement project right now. The deeper aspect is we need to change how people think. Because the current trends in popular opinion internationally, especially in the Western world, has gone completely down the tubes over the past half century, to the point where people believe completely stupid ideas, which are wrong and also violate natural law. Now, the way the basement began is in 2001, Lyndon LaRouche began to recruit a youth movement. In opposition to the development of the presidential election, where people might remember that we elected the dumbest president in American history, George W. Bush, son of the second dumbest president in American history, George H.W. Bush. But it was a horrible event in our history, and we're not very proud of it. But we began recruiting a youth movement around that time. And the core of the youth movement, besides the organizing on the streets and explaining to people what the policies were that we needed, the core of the movement was an educational policy. It was an educational policy based on studying the great masters of science, such as Plato, Johannes Kepler, Carl Gauss, etc. But not just studying them to, get a mastery of science, but studying them with the intent of understanding how the human mind works. Now, what's clear is that human beings are not animals. Each animal is bred with a certain set of instincts and what you could call traditions within that animal species. There are variations in this, especially when you get into domesticated animals. But in general, the animal world, each species represents a distinct type of behavior. Human beings, on the other hand, have the ability of changing their behavior in a fundamental way, which is reminiscent of the transformation of species over geological history. Human beings have the effect of changing species. Now, how do we do this? Well, we do it through what's called scientific discovery and creative thinking. So the mission was to investigate how these scientists thought and how they made their discoveries in order to understand how to get people to make new discoveries, how to make discoveries ourselves, but how to create policies which generate higher and higher densities of discoveries and creative thinking among the populations of the world. Now in 2006, 2007, the project accelerated with the creation of the modern basement team, which started with a very close investigation of the scientist Johannes Kepler. Now, people might have heard that Isaac Newton discovered gravitation, but in reality, Isaac Newton never discovered anything. Really, Johannes Kepler discovered universal gravitation, and it's not the form that you'd expect. He discovered that planets don't pull on each other, but the planets of the solar system are organized according to a type of universal harmonics, which is not observable by the senses. You use the senses, you use your sense of sight, and you also use the sense of sound to investigate the motions of the planets. But the motions of the planets are organized according to a principle that then organizes those sense perceptions, those data readings, so to speak, those instrument readings. Johannes Kepler demonstrated how you take more than one sense perceptual instrument reading and then look for the paradoxes and generate a new hypothesis of what principle must be controlling those sense perceptions. And he found that those principles are not anything that can be observed by the senses, but they exist. We have a solar system to demonstrate that. Now we're at a point, and the process in the basement developed through the studies of Carl Gauss, Bernard Riemann, and Russian-Ukrainian biogeochemist Vladimir Vernadsky. Now we're at a point where we're taking the modern scientific investigations of scientists all around the world and putting things together in ways that these scientists never thought because of the method of thinking. A lot of scientists are doing good work, but they don't have a concept of a universe that's organized according to the human mind. Because it's very interesting. What human discovery makes clear, and what the advances in human economy based on those discoveries make clear, is that the human society acts according to advances in improved methods of organization of the universe. What this also represents is that the universe itself has the capability inherently of improving how it's organized, which means that the universe is not universally entropic. It's not running down. We're not going to run into a heat death. The whole universe isn't going to turn into a bunch of black holes or anything like that. The universe is developing to higher and higher and better states. Human beings have the willful ability to enact those higher states of existence. That's what we call physical economy. So now part of the organization of the basement team is to organize layers to recognize what are the next steps that we need to take for humanity. Ultimately, what we need to do is colonize the moon and Mars. We need to go into the cosmos as human beings and develop. To get there, we have to enact certain policies on the ground here, such as the North American Water and Power Alliance, which is a vast biosphere engineering project to bring water up from the Arctic of North America down into the Canada, the lower 48 states, and into Mexico. There are similar projects in Africa, in Russia, in Europe, etc., to do giant water moving projects. China. We need to do these projects as a global operation to shape the biosphere now, not only so we can produce the economic industries and might to build the spaceships and things like that to go into space, but so that we can recruit a youth generation who can think, who are trained in how to solve problems and how to discover new principles that they didn't know that existed yet. The NWAPA project and these similar biosphere projects and the launch into space represents how you're going to transform the thinking of the next generation of youth so that we're creative and that each individual recognizes that the human ability is to transform the universe into higher and higher states of existence. So I hope that you enjoy the next couple of days at the Winter Student Republic, and I would suggest that you go and check out some more of my movement's work, Lyndon LaRouche. So thank you very much.